Hey everyone, it's Robin Openshaw. Welcome back to the Vibe Show. This little interview or class that I want to share with you was not recorded as a podcast, but as I thought about it later, I thought you might enjoy it. I gathered my children together along with a colleague, and we taught them about Bitcoin, gold, and silver, and the things that they don't teach us in the schools that I really feel like they need to protect their small savings as they're all between 23 and 30. And I really wanted them to know some basic principles. So this is very much geared towards a beginner audience who maybe doesn't work in economics or finance, or maybe hasn't paid attention a whole lot until recently, where you probably became aware or have become aware that your government isn't serving you well. You've lost 30 to 50% of your purchasing power, which is the debasing of the dollar in the last 4 years. So I wanted to teach my children that they can store value or protect their savings in ways that are not just sticking it in the bank. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Andrea Calgiero and I and three of my children. Hey everyone. Hey Andrea. Hey my darling children, Emma, Mary Elizabeth, and Tennyson. Thank you for coming. And this might seem like a strange thing that I called you together to do, but I completely adore Andrea. We work together on Wednesday nights, plus we're just good friends. And it's a very strange story how we even met. It was actually Andrea's wife who connected with me meeting a pharmacist in Flagler Beach who said, "You need to meet this woman." And anyways, we've been great friends ever since. But Andrea and I have a shared sort of purpose and passion in that I just wanted to call you guys together to talk to you about some subjects that are important to both of us, because you've probably noticed that your dollar buys you like 50% less than it did 4 years ago. And that has never happened in Andrea's life or my life. And it's not generally going to reverse and come back. And so I actually started learning about Bitcoin 4 years ago when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like getting towards retirement and I had all these plans for retiring. And if we're going to cancel economies and break supply chains, what's going to happen to my savings and my investments? And my mind started to spool out into the what ifs of what the consequences were going to be, like longer term consequences of canceled economies, right? And you guys know that I was in sort of a white hot panic about it. And so I did eventually get constructive about it. But we actually stopped teaching about gold as a 5,000-year-old store of value or a way to keep you from losing your money in inflation, which inflation has happened in every economy, but it's starting to move very fast in ours. But they stopped teaching it in American schools in 1974, I believe. So I never learned it in school, but I started to trust the government less and started to trust things like government instruments of investing, like 401ks and Roth IRAs. I started trusting that a lot less at some point. I think it was about 10 years ago or so when I learned how the Federal Reserve came to be, who really kind of controls our economy in a lot of ways and our money system. And I learned that it wasn't federal, it wasn't owned by the government, and it's actually a private banking cartel that controls the money in the United States. I couldn't even believe it. I watched this documentary about it. I was so stunned. It was done by the Procter and Gamble heir, this guy named Foster Gamble, and I watched the movie 4 times. Like I would grab a different friend to make them watch it with me, because I just, my mind was so blown. I was like, how'd I get to be this old and I didn't know that the Federal Reserve is a banking cartel and all the things that that means for us. And yet it was true, and I've read whole books about it since then, and Andrea will confirm. So anyway, I started buying gold sometime around then, just accumulating a little bit here and there as I could. Gold, I have my concerns about gold. I have my concerns about Bitcoin, but I'm not sorry that I started buying Bitcoin at $8,000 in 2020, because it's now worth like 7 times that. So Andrea started kind of having some similar anxieties in 2020. We didn't know each other yet. She's from North Carolina, but With that as the background, I so want you guys to know about this because this is stuff that if I were you and I were your age, I would want someone to grab me by the shoulders and teach me about. It's super important to me just because I care about your future. And I would have paid no attention to this at your age and it would have kicked my butt. So that's why we're here. And with that, I'm going to let Andrea teach because she's a really good teacher and a really amazing person.
Thanks, Robin. All right, y'all. So just to give you a little bit about my background, I was an IT recruiter for over 20 years. So I hired people to work at like the Federal Reserve Bank, all the big trading companies, banking systems, commodities, all of it, even the government, like Department of Defense. And I would hire people to build IT infrastructure, everything. So in 2020, when the government told us to stay home, our government printed 20% more dollars into existence, which is why every time you guys go to the food store or put gas in your car, whatever it is, inflation's getting higher. Okay. So, when Robin asked me to teach this class, I kind of wanted to just sit back because I liked, a lot of times I find myself having cognitive dissonance. I know bad things are going on, but day to day, my life is so like good and blessed that I don't really think about it. So I want to help you guys think about money in a different way today. Okay. So I put together like 10 questions about money, and you don't have to answer them. I just want you to sit with this and think about it. Okay. And think about like where we are right now, and then we'll kind of get into it. So question number one is like, why do you personally choose to hold United States dollars as opposed to any other currencies, right? Because this is what we do. We hold US dollars. You don't have to answer. I just want you to sit with it. Have you ever considered the factors that influence the value of the United States dollars and the primary drivers for that? Question three, how do you perceive the long-term stability of the United States dollar compared to other forms of investments? Question number four, do you believe the purchasing power of the United States dollar is increasing or decreasing over time? Question number five, how much do you trust in the current financial system to keep the value of your savings held in United States dollars? Question number six, what role do you think government policies play in influencing the value of the dollar? And do you trust these policies to maintain stability? Question seven, are there any currencies more appealing than the United States dollar and the current system? Question number eight, how do global economies, trends, and events impact your confidence in the United States dollar as a store of value? Question number nine, have you considered diversifying your holdings beyond the United States dollar? What investments and currencies interest you and why? Question number 10, what reforms or changes could improve the stability and trustworthiness of the United States dollar and the financial system as a whole? Okay, because I was trying to like think of a way. I know you guys are younger, you're in your 20s, right? So I know for me, my financial education was my parents, and they said, go to college, get a degree, work really hard, save your money, and you're going to be okay. That's not true anymore. Do you guys, and I'm sure you guys can feel this, right? Being in your 20s, every time you get paid, you need more dollars to purchase the same goods and services. My parents bought their house. They have a beautiful, like 2,400 square foot house with a screened-in lanai, beautiful saltwater pool. They bought it about 15 years ago for $232,000. Their house is worth about $750,000 now. Is the house better? No. It's just we need more dollars to purchase the same goods and services. That's how much our dollar has lost value over the course of the years. Does that make sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then I just want you to think about this. Do you think the dollar is going to stabilize and prices will go down? Or do you think that things are going to go up and up and up in price?
Probably keep going up.
They're probably going to keep going up. So I want to talk to you guys about maybe diversifying, right? Some of your dollars. Okay. Because we print, and this is like almost inconceivable as like a human brain. We print $1 trillion every 90 days to pay the minimum balance on the United States debt. We print that money and that creates inflation, right? So prices, we're devaluing the dollar by adding more dollars into the system over and over and over again. They even had Congress, I think last year or the year before, they approved and signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act. And if you actually read through the bill, you would be 100% certain that that does the opposite of what they say. That bill creates more inflation because we're just printing more money. And it does the exact opposite. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And here's
So
the
they're
other thing.
probably, Andrea, they're probably wondering in the back of their mind, well, so can't they just keep printing money?
Well, that's what they're doing. So eventually, like, did you guys ever learn about like Weimar Germany?
About
Like,
what?
so Germany during World War II, right, printed so many dollars because they were in war. And then hyperinflation came and people used dollars to burn to keep warm during the winter months.
Or they probably weren't dollars, they're probably marks or whatever they were.
Right, exactly. Thanks. Yeah. So the more we print money, the more devalued, right? The more dollars we need to purchase those same goods and services. And what I'm seeing is super concerning. It's like I left recruiting to teach people about cryptocurrency, gold, silver, basically become more sovereign, be your own bank, because the government is not going to save us. They don't care about us, right? And that's just like the bottom line. I see it over and over and over again. The rich get richer and everyone else suffers, right? Inflation is theft, right? Why do we pay taxes if we can just print dollars, right? Think about it.
Mhm.
Like, why are we paying taxes when they just print dollars and send them to whoever? You know what I mean? So
And
it's
is it
just,
sustainable for us to see our federal deficit go up by $1 trillion every 3 months? Like,
no.
how's that end? And how has it
So,
ended in history?
right. So every time, if you go back and you look at history, we go through a reset, a global, and this time it'll be global because everyone's in the same boat as the United States. We just have the world reserve currency. So it's actually, United States is the best place to live in terms of dollars. Even though our dollar is so devalued compared to other countries, it's worse there. Okay, just because we have the privilege of having the world reserve currency, which we're losing, right? We weaponize Russia. We don't let Russia trade using our international trading system. It's called SWIFT. So what does Russia do? They go and they make partnerships with China, India, you know, like all Brazil, all these different countries, and then they're not using United States dollars anymore. So those dollars are going to come back to the United States, and that's going to cause even more inflation. Does that make sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right, cool, cool. So kind of what I wanted you guys to just think about, and again, I wish someone talked to me about money when I was in my 20s, because you guys have an opportunity to become financially free, way more sovereign than you are now. If you have a goal of wanting to like buy a house or like maybe pay off debt, whatever it is, like gold, silver, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency, they're all going to go up in value against the dollar. And I'm going to break each one down and I'm going to tell you why. All right. But before I do that,
Let me use my house example for just a quick, this will just help you understand it. Andrea mentioned that 15 years ago, her parents bought a house for $230,000, 2,400 square foot house. Emma, Tennyson wouldn't remember our first house in Linden, but Emma and Libby would. That's the size of that house. Okay. So nice sized house, a screened in pool, beautiful saltwater pool. Saltwater is like the high end here in Florida. Anyways, bought it for $230,000. 15 years later, it's worth $750,000, right? That's the debasement of the dollar. That's the dollar becoming worth less. But this is how I wanted to put this to you, and then I'll give it back to Andrea. If her parents had bought their house for Bitcoin, let's say 5 years ago, not 15, but 5 years ago, they might have, and I'm doing total cowboy math here, okay? But they would have paid hundreds and hundreds of Bitcoin. Okay. Then if they bought it this year, they would have, oh, let me think here. It would have cost them like 15 Bitcoin. If it continues the way it has the last 15 years for Bitcoin, in a few more years, you could buy their house for 3 Bitcoin. Do you see where this is going? So I'm trying to say that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. So your dollars are worth less and less and less. That, like Andrea said, her parents' house, it's not that it's a better house. It didn't get 3.5 times better in the last 15 years. It actually got worse. Houses actually depreciate. That's why if you own a house, you get to depreciate your house every year on your taxes. Most people don't understand that your house is actually depreciating. So anyway, so that's giving you an example of Bitcoin, which Andrea and I are fans of. I don't want to tell you to buy Bitcoin. I don't want to tell you that Bitcoin is risk-free. Bitcoin is volatile. Going to the complete other end of the spectrum, our other favorite thing to invest in is gold. Gold has its own issues. I won't tell you that gold is without risk either, but both of them have no third party involved in the transaction. There's no third party risk. There's no worry that the bank that's involved in the transaction is going to go under and your money goes with it. The tough thing about gold is you have to actually physically possess it. You can't lose it. You stick it under your mattress and somebody breaks in, somebody might steal your gold. So those are the kind of issues that you have with gold. However, gold has tended to keep up with inflation to the point where 200 years ago, 1 ounce of gold would buy a very nice men's suit. And today, an ounce of gold would still buy a very nice men's suit. Does that help you fix it in your mind a little bit? I know you guys are on mute, but if you ever want to ask a question and you want to come off of mute, just unmute yourself and interrupt us, or tell us in the chat that you want to come on and ask your question. Or if a question comes to you, you can just write it down in the chat. But anyways, that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about gold and about Bitcoin. And you might be saying, some of you, okay, not saying who, I don't have a whole lot of savings, Mom. But I get that. But I lost so much money from having no financial literacy and nobody teaching me anything except that my dad said that I was an idiot if I didn't borrow as much money as possible to buy the most house possible. Well, guess what? I'm not trying to say that my dad was wrong, because that worked really well for my dad, but things have changed, right? You used to have to save for like 2 years for a house. Now you have to save for like 7 years. And the interest rates are like triple what they were several years ago. So anyway, it's not that my parents didn't teach me right. They definitely modeled being frugal and living on less than you earn, and they're totally noble that way. Like somehow they raised a family of 10 on 1 military income. Just absolutely brilliant what my dad pulled off, absolutely brilliant what my mom pulled off. However, boomers, and technically my parents are the silent generation. They're actually the generation older than boomers. They got to live through the golden age. Well, it's not really going to go that way for the rest of us, barring some kind of miracle. It's not really going to go that way for the rest of us. So that's why I'm so interested in talking to you guys about starting to create your own little nest egg in something that actually holds its value, even as fiat currencies. The dollar is one of them, right? We're all going to go to Switzerland for a liver detox retreat this summer, right, guys? And the Swiss franc is actually kind of expensive versus the dollar. Most of the currencies of the world, like Andrea said, are doing poorly against the dollar. Okay, that doesn't mean we're all golden and everything's going to be great. It just means that the dollar is holding strong because we have the world's reserve currency, which means that until recently, when everybody decided they hated the United States for some very good reasons, because we weaponized the US dollar and we stole $200 billion from Russia, kicked them out of the SWIFT system, and the whole world watched it happen. Everybody had to trade in dollars for like oil all over the world. Well, guess what? More and more and more every single year, countries are breaking away from that. There's a big organization called the BRICS, which I think Andrew will probably get into that if we have time, which is a whole bunch of countries organizing to get away from US hegemony. So I can't control what our country does and the completely insane decisions that they keep making. That makes me want to punch a wall. But I do want you guys to do all in your power to make yourself more safe and secure against the future, given the fact that there's all this insanity going on in the world. Sorry, Andrea, that was supposed to be a short tangent. It was long.
No, I love it. I love it. So, and think of it this way too. Iran sent 100 drones, right, to attack Israel. What would happen to the dollar if the United States backs Israel and goes to war with Iran? We're going to print more money. And I'm concerned. So I'm kind of glad we're all on the call tonight. I'm super concerned that if we do this and we print more money, right? And all it is pressing a button on a computer screen and we send them more money, our money will become more and more devalued. It's been really, really slowly eroding like our purchasing power. And then it happens all at once, just like it did in Germany during wars, right? And we made deals with Saudi Arabia, a bunch of countries. We give them military support to use those dollars. They use the United States dollar. That's why we have the world reserve currency, but that's not what's going to be happening within the next 10 years. Country after country after country are forming alliances to use their own dollars. And I'm not against it. I just think that we have to be prepared. Like we have to critically think about money right now, something we never ever had to do because the world was pretty stable up until recently. Okay. And there's like three main things that we can do to preserve and grow our wealth. Because if you guys are holding 100% of your money in dollars, you're going to lose. Okay. It's a fact, right? Gold hit it almost every day. Gold's hitting an all-time high. And it doesn't mean that you can't buy it if you only have 100 extra dollars. All right. I teach people to stop going and getting that cup of coffee, go out to get that cup of tea, like just whatever extra money you can get per month, you just slowly start buying, Bitcoin, silver, gold, whatever it is. And I'm going to show you the new banking system that no one's talking about. I'm going to show it to you guys and you can create an account and you can do it right on there. All right. But there's reasons why you're going to start hearing about, and we're going to start talking more about gold, silver, and Bitcoin specifically, because those are the three other like currencies, commodities that one, you can hold outside the system. Okay. Because if all of your money is in the bank and we have a national emergency, just like they did in Greece. I don't know if you guys knew this, but back in 2008, during the Great Recession, Everyone who lived in Greece went to sleep and they woke up the next day, they checked their bank account and they had 15% less in their account because the government needed the money. They will take it from us.
And it's actually legal in the US as of 2010. Andrea taught me that a couple years ago. It's called the Dodd-Frank Act. They can actually do a bank bail-in. Most Americans don't know this, but I want to do a little mop up on a couple things. One is Andrea said that more and more countries are going to start using their own dollars. And what she meant is their own fiat currencies. So like Japanese yen, Chinese uh Chinese
yuan.
yuan, the renminbi, there's like 170 different currencies in the world, but all these other countries are wanting to use their own currencies. There's no other like global reserve currency to replace the dollar, but they're breaking all the rules. Okay, the rules that Nixon started back in the early 1970s. We were loaning money, or other countries were loaning us money, and we had to pay them back in gold. And technically, if you were walking around with a Federal Reserve note, which is what you guys think of as a dollar, but they're actually called US Federal Reserve notes, they're debt instruments. Technically, until 1971, so I was like 4 years old, what a dollar meant was that you could walk into a bank and get that amount of gold. Well, Nixon owed, the United States owed other countries money, and France was like, you know what, you guys are making me nervous. We're going to get on a ship and we're going to come over and we're going to take our gold. Okay, we want to cash in our chips and we want our gold, and we didn't have it. The US didn't have it, and so the US under President Nixon gave some of the gold back to France, and then President Nixon said, we are detaching gold from the dollar. So as of when I was 4 years old, gold is not attached, or the dollar is not attached to gold. The dollar is not attached to anything, which means that there's no real reason for them to not just print money, besides that, everybody's looking. That's a bit of a check and a balance, is that everybody's looking and each president doesn't want to outspend the last. However, every single president has outspent the last. And the faster it goes, the more debt we owe. Just imagine if you got a new credit card every year and racked it up like 15,000 bucks on a new credit card every year. And you were just like, I don't want to think about all the interest I have to pay. And then one day you finally hit a wall because you're having to pay like $2,800 a month in interest, and you only make $2,500 a month. Guess what? That's when you fold. That's when you get evicted. That's when you lost your shirt. Okay, well, the US government runs exactly like that. If you did that, you wouldn't have an apartment to live in, right? So anyway, that's what I want to say. And also we've introduced silver into the conversation. Here's the shortest way I can think of to tell you why I invest in both gold and silver, is that gold is a tiny little piece of yellow metal that it never rusts, never goes bad. It was created as the like stars collided or something. It's older than planet Earth. We can only create like maybe 1.5% more a year. It's a ton of work to create gold, pull it out of the ground, refine it. But so gold, you can, like an ounce of it is worth like 2,500 bucks or something right now. But silver is only like, I don't know what it is. Like, let's say it's $30 an ounce. Both of them are going up, up, up right now. Okay, they've been pretty stagnant for a long time. But silver is what you're going to use to go to the grocery store if the dollar tanks, if things get weird, if this economy continues to erode. Silver is something that you can actually use more easily as a way of exchanging value with people, but it takes up a lot more space in your safe or under your mattress or whatever. And gold, you can store a lot more money in a little ounce of gold, but you certainly wouldn't want to take an ounce of gold to go buy some groceries because it's worth 2,500 bucks. And they're not going to give you change for your ounce of gold at most cashiers, right? So silver and gold, we like them both. They both have industrial purposes, especially silver, and they both have intrinsic value, unlike dollars, which are pieces of paper. Sorry, back to you, Andrea.
Right. And normally, like, so as the dollar fails, historically, what has happened is that the governments get together, they have a meeting, and then they'll reset the currency, the fiat currency, back to gold. And it might be other commodities this time as well. So like Robin mentioned, like the BRICS nations, it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They kind of formed a coalition to start trading without using the United States dollar. And it's growing at a pretty rapid pace. And while everyone was talking about Iran and Israel, China just signed a really large trade agreement with Russia. And again, it's kind of like their currency is either going to be backed by gold and or other commodities, right? Based on what where that country's wealth is. Okay. So I like all three. I obviously like Bitcoin. I'm like a big, tech person, and I can see the value of it, and I'll kind of break them all down. But like, I think it's really important that we own all three as much as we possibly can, because as the dollar gets devalued, gold is known to preserve your wealth, right? Robin gave the example 20 years ago or 200 years ago, 1 ounce of gold buys you one nice suit. Today, same thing, buys you one nice suit. That's a hedge against inflation. That's what gold is known for. Okay. Silver, also super important. All right. Because I'm sure you guys see every time you go into a city, every city is getting like a technological upgrade, right? There's driverless cars in all major cities all over the United States, and automobiles need silver. Okay. Every chip needs silver. Every electric panel, solar panel, whatever it is, they all use silver. So silver supply and demand at some point is going to get out of balance. And if you guys don't have a lot of money, it's totally fine, because silver's still at a really good price. It's got a really good chance to go up like hundreds, if not thousands of %, like over the next decade. And as the dollar devalues, gold and silver are going to go up in value. All right. All right, cool. So another thing is, like I gave that example with Greece. And if the United States like gets in trouble and we passed the Dodd-Frank Act, like back in 2010, Congress signed a bill into law saying, hey, we can't like bail in any of the banks anymore, because that's what they did during the last crisis. Now we can bail in. And what a bail-in means is they're legally cleared to take money out of our bank account, which is why I teach every single person how to become your own bank. You hold physical gold, you hold physical silver. If you hold Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, you want to hold it like, on your hardware wallet. Super important, because you become your own bank. There's no third party intermediary, banking system, or government that can go in and take your cryptocurrency, but they can take your dollars.
And I want to mention that if you decide to invest, I won't say who, but one of you already owns a cold wallet and already has some crypto. But I will support you by buying you a cold wallet. It doesn't actually store your Bitcoin or your cryptocurrency. And by the way, I wouldn't buy 99% of cryptocurrencies out there. There's like, last I heard, like over 20,000 of them registered. We don't need that many. It's like startup companies. Most of them are going to go under in the next 5 years. It's like the dot-com bubble. Okay, that was what the year Tennyson was born. So none of you remember it, but all those of us who were adults remember the dot-com bubble, because it was a complete catastrophe and everybody was grabbing their company's name or a concept, or Eric Smith was like just buying, .coms, and probably he sold some of them for $25,000 and $50,000 just by camping on them for 50 years. But crypto is very similar in that everybody's in this mania and everybody's starting some crypto project that, many of them have some, potential to be disruptive and improve or improve some industry, but most of them won't. Or some of them will try to, but then someone else will come in and do it better. Okay, that's been the story of the stock market. That's the story of the free market system, right? But I am really, really, really picky about which cryptocurrencies I will buy. And Andrea and I run a mastermind on Wednesday nights where we get a lot of Andrea's research on the cryptos that she believes will go the distance. Because I'm totally interface all the time about, okay, but what about this? And what about that? Like, just because it has a sexy use case, just because they're touting it as being all that because of, A, B, or C, doesn't mean they have the funding, doesn't mean they have the marketing chops, doesn't mean that they'll actually succeed at it. Like, look at all the things they're up against. Because, I've owned a business for like 37 years. And so she does her homework. And so I rely a lot on her research and I ask a lot of questions. And before I'll even invest in one, well, first of all, I consider it very risky. Investing in the altcoins, I consider very risky. Bitcoin is kind of like the tried and true. I mean, it's only 15 years old, but it's a store of value. I don't know if we'll ever use it as money. That may have been like that may have come and gone, and it may just be like basically digital gold. But I'm a fan of holding some Bitcoin. Obviously, since I started buying it at $8,000 and it hit $74,000 just 4 years later. So, anyways, I will buy you a hard wallet so that you're not storing it on there because you could literally memorize your 12 words that are your seed phrases and you could walk naked across the border to another country and get your crypto back. Okay, Tennyson's making a face because he can't really imagine a scenario wherein you would walk naked across a country's border. Neither can I, but I bet you don't forget that I said that. And so it's not that it's stored on this little device called a cold wallet. It's that it's how do you want to put it, Andrea? Back to you.
Okay. So if you guys have like an account with Coinbase, that's like a centralized exchange, right? So again, there's party risk, there's third party risk, right? Coinbase can take your coins. So when I say like store on a hardware wallet, it's just a way for people to understand. But like when you send your money, like let's say you bought Bitcoin and then you have an app on your phone that's connected to like your hardware wallet, your crypto, your Bitcoin is stored on the blockchain and you use that little device to sign the transactions. So that hardware wallet is signing a transaction. So at Tennyson, if you wanted to send Libby some Bitcoin, you would use that device to sign it, right? And there's no third party. There's no bank giving you permission. Think about this, you guys. We ask for permission every day to use our money, whether it's a bank account, Venmo, PayPal, Apple Pay, Google Pay, we ask for permission. But when your coins are on the blockchain, when your Bitcoin's on the blockchain, Tennyson can just put Libby's address, send that Bitcoin, and it's all on the blockchain. But through the algorithmic code, it takes the money out of your account and puts it in Libby's. It's like
And
a
you guys know,
really
like,
big.
It might sound crazy to you that you need the permission of a bank. Well, why wouldn't a bank give you permission? You guys realize that 2 years ago I got canceled by 3 banks, right? Like Tennyson, I owed you $30 today. There's a reason why John sent you the money from Venmo. Do you know what that reason is?
You got canceled by Venmo.
I am canceled by Venmo for life, and they won't give me a reason why, and they won't even give my lawyer a reason why. So I probably know 30 people who've been canceled by major banks. So I'm canceled by PayPal, Square, and Venmo. So being my own bank is very, very real for me. Like important.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure you guys have access to some of the classes from Taft too. If you get a chance, I did a whole class about a cryptocurrency project called Stellar, and the token symbol is XLM. It's like 13, it's usually between like 12 and 14 cents right now. And the other day I was listening to an interview with the person, his name is Jed McCaleb. He created XLM. And during the interview, he said, think of Stellar XLM as a global Venmo that your grandmother will use and not even realize she's using cryptocurrency. So our financial system is changing and everything is being tokenized, right? So we're taking like a physical dollar, taking it digital, putting it on the blockchain. Gold, physical gold will be tokenized, put on the blockchain. Our debt is being tokenized and put on the blockchain. And Stellar is going to be a big part of this, in my opinion. And I obviously love you guys, you're Robin's kids. And I would love you anyway, even if you weren't, because you're cool. But like, I just want, Bitcoin's what? Like, it's freaking expensive now, right? It's like 66 grand. So if you don't have a lot of extra cash, I would recommend looking into that and understanding, right? If I send Tennyson Bitcoin, it can take like 5, 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to clear. It's a great store of value, right? But if I send you XLM, I'm literally saying, Tennyson, I just sent you Stellar. And then you're going to say, and I just received it at a fraction of a penny, right? Think about all the different farmers that farm their land up in California, and they have to send the money back to Mexico. And all these third-party intermediaries rip them off, paying 40, 50 bucks per transaction. And these guys are only making a couple $100 a week. Now they can send that money without permission for a fraction of a penny.
So that's one of the many use cases. Like Andrea and I always say on our, she called it TAF, but it's our Take Action for Freedom Insiders Mastermind that we teach every Wednesday night. That one of the use case, you could literally get a master's degree in just the use cases for Bitcoin. You could probably get a PhD in cryptocurrency, except no one has developed that, curriculum because it's changing so fast. Like, who would develop that curriculum? And then what? A bunch of old like PhDs at a university are going to teach that? I don't think so. So we're kind of out on the bleeding edge of learning about this. But I think that this will make an impact on Emma because she's been like a humanitarian at heart since she was like a little girl. But cryptocurrency enables peer-to-peer exchange of value, or like, me giving money to someone in a third world country with no bank involved. You got to realize that's not happened before, but it digitally enables people who are making $2 a day. Hey, Libby, and no, it was Tennyson and Emma and I were sitting on my bed in Park City and we watched that movie about all the people who make like $2 a day making fast fashion. And then like Emma didn't buy any new clothes for like years after that, and I didn't either. And we were all like totally disturbed by this. It's literally 2 billion people in the world. It's a quarter of the people in the world who don't have a bank account. They don't have a bank account. They don't have any ID. They don't, you could call them the world's unbanked. They do have phones. The vast majority of them do have phones, and they can literally store money in cryptocurrency on their phone with no bank involved. So it's a weird thing to think about because we all have grown up with bank accounts since our earliest age. Mommy and daddy take you to the bank and set up a bank account, and you have your first $5 so that they teach you about saving money and compounding interest and whatever. But there's people who make only a few dollars a day who are saving money in cryptocurrency, and it is going up in value, and they are creating wealth for their family for the first time since ever. So anyway, I thought that one use case, which is one of many of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, would especially appeal to Emma.
Yeah, awesome. And it definitely appeals to me as well. Like I'm just like when I'm not like a super political person, you know, I grew up gay, like I'm not really super trustworthy of the government, but like I've been following it hardcore since 2020 because they're moving us into like a new technological revolution, right? With robots, algorithms, drones. And, you know, our world is changing so quickly. It's also like a huge opportunity for us to like, one, preserve our wealth, hopefully expand our wealth so we can help other people. I mean, that's why I'm doing it. But I want to kind of talk to you guys real quick. I want to show you something. Robin, can you enable the screen sharing with me? Because I want to show you guys like our banking systems are changing, and I want to show you what a new bank is going to look like. And it's called Wisdom Tree Prime. And I just want to show you that we will be able to pay for things. We can pay for a cup of coffee now using Bitcoin and crypto and gold, which is really cool. You can get your paychecks deposited into, it's called Wisdom Tree Prime. And then instead of holding all your dollars, you can actually convert some of them into grams of gold, right? You don't have to have $2,400 to buy an ounce of gold. You can buy, you know, just a couple grams of gold, right? Same thing with Bitcoin. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, but you could buy a piece of a Bitcoin. It's called Satoshis.
Good stuff. Okay. I would love to give you the screen. I see where it says share screen, but that shares my screen. Do you have a link to it that you can put in chat and I'll try to share my screen, maybe?
Yeah, let's try that.
Unless you know how in Zoom.
It's like only the host has like the ability to do that right now, but
I
I
think there's
can.
a drop down. Do you see a little arrow by the screen share button?
Yes, a up caret. Yep. Okay, it says multiple participants can share simultaneously. Is that it?
Can you click on that?
Yeah. So I did. Can you do
Oh,
anything cool now?
I sure can.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Emma.
Thanks, Emma. We old. We're doing the best we can. All right. So I want to kind of go over this with you guys. So it's like Wisdom Tree Prime. The future of finance is here. And this is one of the new banks. Okay. You're going to be able to download this app on your phone. You can order a debit card, right? But the cool thing is that for the first time ever, we can save, spend, and invest our money using crypto, digital gold, and more. This is like so super cool. No one is talking about this on the media. Nobody's talking about this in the government. We're moving to a multi-currency world. It's not just the United States dollar anymore. Okay. So you can get paid, turn it into digital gold. You can even start like a little savings account for Bitcoin. Like I look at Bitcoin as like my savings account. I don't ever want to touch it. And I'm just going to keep building my savings account, you know, over time and hopefully leave it to my family, right? You can pay your bills. And again, you could buy your morning coffee, pay for your dinner, all with cryptocurrency now. You can use this wherever Visa is accepted, so which is awesome. Okay, so this is the new banking system. This is one example of what's coming. It's also really cool because you can also invest your money in funds. Like I know some people like to put their dollars at least in like treasury funds because at least they're getting 5%. You can do that, all of that within this app. It's like one-stop shopping for banking, really diversifying, you know, your income. And if inflation, if we wind up if this thing with Iran and Israel blows up, we will see inflation go higher and higher and higher, faster and faster and faster. It's always slow at first and then all at once. And part of it is like they want us in this new digital economy, right? And that's the hard thing with cryptocurrencies. There's 20,000 projects. Which ones are going to be adopted into this new world, right? And that's why, you know, we show up to class every week and we put our heads together and I'm trying to figure it out for everybody. But like, this is just such a really cool way to own everything. It's centralized, but your bank is centralized, right? So I would always recommend definitely have an account with Wisdom Tree Prime, but also hold some silver, some gold in the house and get your crypto, you know, become your own bank, like store it on your own wallet on the blockchain.
Yeah, and since none of you guys own your own home, you know, you're more mobile. And so if you buy gold, you always want to know where that gold is. You want to check on it. You want to put it in the most secure place possible. You want to think like a burglar. Um, Gosh, we had a class where I had my gold broker guy, which he wouldn't deal in the amount of gold that you guys would want to buy, but I absolutely love him because he charges lower premiums than others do, just like a family owned small business for like decades. And he's not looking to scale up and hire a bunch of sales guys or anything like that. Like he's just a super honest guy. And he told us, I had him teach class a few weeks ago, and he was telling us how you put your one safe with your actual valuables in it somewhere, and then you have a small decoy safe and put a few like silver coins in there or whatever. So the burglars see that, they're panicked, they grab your whatever's in your decoy safe. Obviously that's not going to make any sense for you guys because you're all renters right now. But just ideas of like people who have significant net worth, they start thinking about stuff like this. This isn't on your minds right now, but I just want to, I don't know, part of my like legacy is to leave you information that I think is super important. You know that usually what I'm talking to you about is health, you know, like trying to get you to start juicing or get bringing back green smoothies into your life or lots of different health habits that I've talked to each of you about since forever. But this is important to me too because we don't really have any freedom if we don't have our health, but we also don't have any freedom if we're dead broke all the time. And I do not think that money buys you happiness, but I do think that poverty buys you misery. So,
Right. And money gives you access to things too, you know? So, and I just pulled up like all the different states where Wisdom Prime is available, and it is available in Utah and California and Florida. And this is something I'm going to do for my wife. I'm going to get her like all set up with this. Do you guys have any questions about that? I know no one's really talking about this. And I literally am like, we don't need all these banks anymore. We're going to see more and more bank failures. So to kind of transition into something like a Wisdom Tree Prime, I think it's a smart move and it's easy.
and so they want to get on Tree Prime. I'm going to have you explain why, but just so you guys know, like I don't think we've really scratched the surface on Bitcoin and why we like Bitcoin. I actually, you know, like see the dark side of everything and I like see the risks of it. And Andrea is super, super bullish on Bitcoin. I have as much Bitcoin as I want to buy. I definitely see some risks with it, but there are brilliant economists and market makers and billionaires all over the world who are piling into it right now. Like it's gone up in price so much because 11 institutions have been approved for a major fund um, for Bitcoin. So organizations can come into it, corporations can get it on their balance sheet. So in other words, companies can buy it. Old money families, you know, they're not going to necessarily do the whole cold wallet, store it on a hardware device and worry about a safe, et cetera, et cetera. They want someone to custody their money if they've got billions and billions of dollars of it. But it just got a lot easier for people to invest in Bitcoin as long as you're willing to live with third-party risk. Okay, for us to put it on our own hardware wallet, That's when we are our own bank. That's when I feel like, okay, great. I've been canceled by 3 banks. Well, nobody can cancel me with this cold wallet here. Right? I don't know if you want to talk more about Bitcoin, Andrea. We've been jumping around topics, but that's kind of fun too.
Yeah. So, I mean, the main thing with Bitcoin, the way I like to look at Bitcoin is that it's a peer-to-peer like technology, right? So we can send emails back and forth to each other, but like I get a copy, you get a copy. The way the developers created Bitcoin, they can take the Bitcoin out of my account and put it into your account. So that's a huge, huge thing. But there's no third party risk, right? There's no bank, governments, or institutions giving you permission. You don't need permission.
Well, and
There's no,
when you say they take it out of your account and put it in their account, talk a little bit about the decentralized aspect and thousands of nodes. Talk a
yeah,
little bit about that.
yeah. So, okay. So just real quick, because so like with every single company, right? There's like a CEO, like your mom's like the CEO of a company, right? So with Bitcoin, there's no CEO. And what they did was like, if I have all my money at Bank of America, there's one point of failure. Think of it like one server. Hackers can go to that one server, do what they have to do, and try to take that system down. And they can hack into Bank of America pretty easily. But with Bitcoin, there's tens of thousands of servers located globally. So if a hacker can hack one of those, like they're called nodes, but I like to call them servers because it's like so super techy. So if someone attacks like one node or one server, that's okay because there's thousands of others. So it really can't affect breaking into Bitcoin's blockchain, right, into their network the way they can with Bank of America. So Bitcoin is the most secure blockchain to date. I think there's almost 20,000 nodes globally, way more than that one node at your bank. And that
So
makes
that's
me
like So that's like somebody sitting at a computer who runs a Bitcoin node. And why do they do that, Andrea? How do they make money doing that?
right. So like if Robin is sending me Bitcoin, then it's called like, so there's people that like monitor the Bitcoin network, and they solve like, mathematical problems. They get paid in Bitcoin, right? That's the whole basis of the Bitcoin blockchain. But they're incentivized because they get paid in this transactional fees, right? So every time we send Bitcoin through the blockchain, there's a fee involved. Okay. And part of that fee goes to the people, like someone like me. I can have a node on my computer and I would be paid part of those transaction fees. And I also get paid if I can mine some Bitcoin, right? So there's two ways of making money. And it's not just Bitcoin, it's all of them, right? So all the cryptocurrency projects are very, very similar. We want to validate transactions. We're going to get paid for that. And we're also going to get paid for helping secure the network by running a node. Because if no one would run a node, then Bitcoin would fail, right? So we have tens of thousands of nodes. This is awesome, super secure, super decentralized. And what decentralized just means is thousands of nodes, not one. One node, very centralized. Our central bank, very centralized, right? Our treasury department got hacked, that they didn't really talk about too much, right? Very centralized. So we're looking for like a distributed, decentralized, like think of Bitcoin as like a ledger, like an accounting ledger where every single transaction is for everybody to see, 100% transparent. We all can see the transactions, but our anonymity, right, is like a long string of letters. So they know our address, but if it's not tied to who we are as a person, they can't censor it. So it's censorship resistant, at least for now, Robin. There's going to be, we're in a war, right? So they want to centralize everything. But for now, it's censorship resistant, super secure, super decentralized, transparent, and no one can change that. In third world countries, they'll just walk on someone's property. These properties have been handed down to generations, and the government walks on, these people's properties that are like, we're taking your property, and they don't have a deed, so they can't like stand up for themselves. But like in this new world, everything will be on the blockchain. So you don't have to, if you lost the paper, that's okay, because everything will be stored on the blockchain. So it should be a much more fair system, but it's just a bumpy ride, right? Because we have a lot of people have been in power for a very, very long time. And companies like BlackRock, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, like all these big institutions, they're not going to be like, wow, these folks created like a really good thing. They should take the lead because it's better for humanity. They're not going to do that.
Yeah,
But we'll
these
win.
cryptocurrencies are a huge threat to our banking industry. I'm sure you guys can understand that the government and the banking industry finds these cryptocurrencies extremely threatening. And yes, they want to drop a hammer on it in every way they can. They can't. They really can't ban Bitcoin. They cannot legally do so. Lots of people in our US Congress have invested in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. It would be political suicide for them to somehow make it, illegal in some way. They are definitely creating pain. Hey, the governor of California just did something really crappy last year. I won't bore you with the details of it, but they definitely are trying to throw every roadblock in the way. But just so you know, and Andrea has alluded to this, and I promise we won't go on forever. I will cut off. I won't teach a class longer than 90 minutes. But there is totally lost my train of thought. You probably have one that you want to finish with. I'll probably think of it in just a second, Andrea. It's something related to the fact that we can use these different crypto projects outside of the traditional banking system. We should expect a lot of resistance from powerful entities, but the third world is adopting cryptocurrency and Bitcoin way faster than the US is, because the US is like the frog in the water being boiled slowly, right? Like we don't have 200% inflation or 2000% inflation. Like Argentina and Venezuela are tied right now for the most horrible inflation in the world, except for
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. Yeah, I get really dumb after 9 p.m., which
We all
you
do.
probably know. Yeah. So Zimbabwe is the worst. And then I think Venezuela and Argentina are like hundreds of percent. So people literally get their paycheck and hurry out and buy what they need because tomorrow their currency is going to be worth less. And so, there's a lot of different reasons why I'm super interested in you guys learning more about cryptocurrency, but Americans are a little bit asleep at the wheel because like they want to like shake a fist and bitch and moan about the cost of everything like it's the number one topic of conversation in America. But I honestly think that most people don't know why there's inflation. And it's the government isn't just printing money, they're also borrowing money. Okay. And those of us who are investing in T-bills, which are treasury bills or short-term loans to the government, I've never made a loan to the government, and I've done it because they're so desperate that they're paying a higher percent in interest payments to me than I'm losing in inflation. And so for the first time in my life, I've invested in short-term T-bills or I've loaned money to the US government. And you might be wondering to yourself, wait, I thought you said you don't trust the government much. You both have told us that. Why would you loan money to the government short term? Well, that's another story. And we taught a whole class about that. And I told people how to step by step buy T-bills if they want to, not giving financial advice, but I told them how to do it directly with the US government. It's not hard, but I'm not buying 10-year and 20-year bonds right? Where my money's tied up for 10 and 20 years. I don't trust that the dollar will last that long, but I have bought T-bills, which is me loaning money to my dead broke, um, crack cocaine addicted, overspending 80 different credit cards government because I trust that they'll be around for, or at least think there's a high odds that they'll still be around in 8 weeks or in 6 months. So I am invested in short-term T-bills partly for diversification, right? When you're getting near to retirement, I don't have the luxury of starting over. I'm not, I can't start a career over because I got wiped out. So I'm super motivated to not lose the money that I earned. In my experience in life, keeping my money is way harder than earning money. Keeping it is way harder than earning it. That's been my experience. It's really easy to lose your money. Nobody tells you that because you spend most of your life hustling to make some money. But then if you have any, it's also very, very easy to lose it. So I spent the first few decades of my life learning how to earn money, and now I am way more focused on how not to lose my money. So,
Right. And we want you guys to like grow your wealth. And that's why I think it's really important that you all become your own bank. But definitely check out that Wisdom Tree Prime because it's super convenient. If you get your paycheck, you could pay all your bills through there. And then as soon as you get paid, and this is what other countries do, they swap their currency into like a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of gold. And you guys can do the same thing. Okay. And not financial advice, but I highly recommend checking out that Stellar XLM lecture that I did. Because it's just like, normally you have to be like an accredited investor to buy into projects like this. And you have to make like 250 grand a year, have over $1 million of like net worth, not including your house. And this is the first time like an average person can invest in these projects without being an accredited investor. So I don't know, like I find it super fascinating. I'm so into it. And I do believe the world will become a better place. The dollar is not going to go away, but it will be revalued. And our system is in the process of changing. I'm watching it change. So I want you guys to be protected and grow your wealth. You have any questions?
No, this has been super informative and helpful. Sorry I had to hop off and hop on my phone a little bit ago, but this has been great.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And come to class anytime. If you guys need help, like setting up your wallet, like I'm totally here. And, but I wouldn't wait too long because like Bitcoin in about 6 months, in my opinion, it'll probably almost double. And that usually brings up all the prices of like all the cryptocurrency projects. And I do a free podcast. If you want to listen to me on YouTube, just go to like Andrea Caldero. It's Caldiero, and you can find me. And I even make cryptocurrency songs to try to help people learn. And I did one called Dump Cash, and it's all about the Dodd-Frank Act, but it's B-52's Love Shack. But instead
oh
of love,
great. Now I'm not going to sleep tonight because I
That
won't be
sounds
able to get
amazing.
that song out of my head.
that's right, Dump Cash, baby. It's so funny. My friends are like amazing, talented musicians, and I convinced them. I wrote all these songs and they sang them. So it's really well done. But like, yeah. And it helps you learn. Like I always try to think like, stories, music, whatever helps people learn. Cause it's like, I believe this is the greatest transfer of wealth we're ever going to go through. And I want you guys to be part of it.
Do you think that
Yeah, thank you.
Bitcoin is gonna drop, like the price will drop before it increases in the near future?
I mean, everyone's really hoping, which means I'm doing my job well, right? I don't know. So that's why, like, I look at other projects, like there's, if you go to my YouTube channel, I made a podcast about real world asset tokenization. I pulled up the website and I started listing off the companies that are tokenizing our debt. Our debt is $34 trillion is getting tokenized. What cryptocurrency projects are tokenizing the debt and then make money during the next 6 to 9 months? And then hopefully Bitcoin will crash. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to crash right now. They literally, Hong Kong passed the spot Bitcoin ETF and Ethereum, which means that you could go to like the New York Stock Exchange, but in Hong Kong, and buy Bitcoin. So it's hard for me to imagine Bitcoin going under, 60 grand at this point. Even with the announcement of war, the cryptocurrency market, I mean, it dropped significantly on Friday and all through the weekend, but not Bitcoin. So I don't know, but like, again, if I only had like $1,000, like I'm not going to buy Bitcoin because Bitcoin, well, one, you guys are in your 20s, right? If I was in my 20s, Bitcoin goes to 120,000 and I buy it at 60 grand, I made $1,000. So I would, if you want to do cryptocurrency, like I would get into some of these smaller projects and keep buying. I mean, silver's so super cheap, you guys. It could go up hundreds to thousands of percent. Buy a little bit of gold, like think of it this way. You get paid and let's say groceries go up, 20% over the next 3 months. If you just convert your grocery money into gold, well, gold's gonna go up. So even though the price of food's gonna go up, your gold went up, you're holding your wealth to purchase your coffee or whatever it is, right? I would just try to get some of your money out of dollars as much as you can. I always say to Rowan, that's my wife's name, like live like no other so you can live like no other. It's what Dave Ramsey said, right? So let's just do that for the next couple months. Just invest as much as you can. And I don't care if it's $10 a week, just something, because the more you do it and the more you see the market go up, right? Because we're in an up cycle and then the market will crash. But don't worry, we'll tell you when to sell your cryptocurrency.
Yeah, well, I actually don't watch the price of everything every day. So I know, Emma, that you've said, well, tell me when it's a good time to buy Bitcoin. Listen, Bitcoin has been really volatile. And what Andrea was telling you there a minute ago is that she thinks it's going to get a lot less volatile because of these ETFs being approved here in the US. And today, Hong Kong's market approved a spot Bitcoin ETF. I know you don't know necessarily what that means, spot Bitcoin ETF. Just know that it's like having a publicly traded stock. And that
Yeah.
means that, like I said, institutions, companies can start buying Bitcoin. They're not in it for the store of value or like being your own bank and putting it on a hard wallet. They're just wanting exposure to that asset. They're wanting to have the upside potential of possibly making good money when it goes up. So Andrea said if you only had $1,000, she wouldn't buy Bitcoin. Yeah, so we're not giving financial advice. I wanted to record this so that anybody's boyfriend or girlfriend, or my child who is missing here, if he ever wants to hear it, will listen to this and learn from it, because I just don't know how to emphasize enough how important it is that we learn about where this economy is going. I think the thought that I lost a few minutes ago was that we're not conspiracy theorists for saying this is going to happen. This is very actively happening. And Andrea mentioned a few minutes ago that they're tokenizing the bond market. That's the US bond market that underpins this economy. All the seniors who live on my street on the beach are living on pensions. They're invested in like 40% bonds. That's the whole like underpinning of this economy. And they are putting it on the blockchain as we speak. And there are hundreds of government entities investing in some of these crypto projects because they need them so that money can move, 1,000 times faster than the Visa and MasterCard rails do. I don't claim to understand it on a technical level. That's why Andrea and I working together work so well, because I see things from a strategic level or 35,000 foot view really well. And I also do pretty well in the mid range. And Andrea understands things from like the fundamentals of these crypto projects. She can look at them and make sense of them and pay attention to who they're partnering with. Because when billion-dollar companies are partnering with a crypto project, that's when you start to take it more seriously and you're more interested maybe in investing in it versus your cousin started a project out of his basement, right? That's going to be a lot more risky. I actually said that, but one of the first cryptocurrencies I ever heard of was my cousin Holly's husband called me to see if I wanted to invest in his cryptocurrency. And I was like, hey, thanks for thinking of me, but no, I don't. So I am really, really conservative when it comes to investing. So it's a little odd probably that I'm out there on the bleeding edge looking at cryptocurrency, but I'm really motivated to not lose everything that I earned my whole life living on less than I earn, um, to inflation, to some crazy economic black swan event. My parents have lived through them. Actually, I have too. You guys were little kids. You didn't know about the great financial crisis, 2007 to 2009. But hey, that big dream home that I built in Linden, that's why 12 years later, I sold it for what I paid for it, is because everybody says that real estate goes up. Well, I was in real estate. I built that house right before the great financial crisis, where real estate lost a lot of value and I broke even 12 years later. So, not saying real estate's a bad idea. If you want to own a home, you should own a home, and let's strategize around that. But I just wanted you guys to be more aware of the whole world of cryptocurrency. And I'm really glad that you got to meet my amazing friend, Andrea. So, any wrap up comments, Andrea?
I just highly recommend, definitely check out Wisdom Tree Prime. And, I've been studying this since like hardcore full time 2020. I've been in crypto since 2017. It takes more than an hour to really understand it, but like come to class. I'm always here, whatever you guys need. Okay. Because we're moving into a new financial system. That's just the bottom line. It's going to look the same. We'll just use our phone, right? Or the QR code, but that whole back end, like when you use a Visa card, all that back end, no one sees that stuff. That's all going to be cryptocurrency.
Yeah, if you could have come into, if you would have known what Amazon would become, right? Like it was like a bookseller 15 years ago, right? It was this,
Yeah.
we knew what it was, but we did, had you seen what Google would become? Had you seen what Apple would become? Had you seen what Amazon would have become, and you had bought stock 15 years ago? Do you want to kick yourself for the rest of your life? Your mom is here trying to tell you, hey, tap, tap on the shoulder. I hope that you pay attention to these trends. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know where this is all going, but directionally, it's really clear where it's going. So like Andrea said, you can't learn all this in an hour or an hour and a half, but we wanted to fire hose you a little bit and give you some exposure to it. And then thank you so much, Andrea. And I just want to tell all of you, every single one of you, Andrea, Emma, Libby, Tennyson, that I absolutely adore you. And I hope that you guys show up in our mastermind on Wednesday nights sometime and learn more. Okay. Love you all.
Love you
Bye.
guys.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.
Hey everyone, Robin again. If you'd like to join our mastermind, we meet every Wednesday night and we cover topics. Sometimes it's a beginner class. We always send out an email with what the topics are and whether it's geared more towards beginners or some of our members who've been in for a year or two. It's our Take Action for Freedom Insiders Mastermind, where we teach about preparedness and we teach about, okay, you see that the dollar is being debased. You see all the signs of trouble on the economic horizon. What do we do about it? We don't give financial advice. And then we very much talk about what we, Andrea and our other teachers, what we are doing to protect our own wealth. I'm at an age where I don't want to start my career over. I don't want to get wiped out and start my career over. So it was kind of to scratch my own itch because I was putting in 20 plus hours a week of research on what's really going on here and how do I protect myself from it. So I started a mastermind to put that research I was doing for my own use and to protect my family to use for other people. So it's the only group like it that I know where it's a small group format where you can ask your questions. You can tell us what you want to learn about. It's a time job for Andrea. I spend, like I say, at least part-time. So I've spent a couple thousand hours researching these subjects since March of 2020. Plus I used to teach economics, civics, and American history at a major university. So I am a little bit more versed in these topics than maybe the average person, but it's become a real focus of my life. So please feel free to join us at Take Action for Freedom Insiders Mastermind. You're going to come to class on Wednesday nights. We have some video trainings to get up to speed and understand what the blockchain is, understand what cryptocurrency is, understand why I wouldn't invest in 99% of them myself. And then just get up to speed and then start coming to class with us on Wednesday. It'll cost you about the price of a cup of coffee with our 2 discounts. One is buy 2 months, get 1 free. We'll give you the link. And then also use the coupon code Robin, ROBYN, for another $50 off. And we'll see you in the mastermind.